Hey y'all, so today I'm going to show you how to draw anatomy using different shapes and forms. First, I'm going to start by drawing the rib cage and the pelvis using an oval or a spherical shape. Then you'll see me split it in half to represent the sternum and spine. And now I'm drawing a little opening for the bottom of the rib cage and now the clavicles and the pit of the neck. The next shape I'm going to use is a cylinder. This helps with drawing perspective and trying to understand the tilt of a body. So this would be you looking at someone who's tilting backwards. The last shape I'm going to draw is a cube. This also helps with you drawing perspective and different angles of a body. Now you see me just drawing the opening of the rib cage and the clavicle bones again. I'm also just going to shade in those areas to show that they are open. Now I'm going to move to drawing the pelvis. I'm creating a bowl shape or a half sphere. Then I'm going to sketch in some lines to make the pelvis a little more prominent and show you where the femur bones go, or your hip bones. The next shape I'm using is another cylinder, and you see the top of both of these shapes because it shows that the pelvis is tilted forward. And the last shape I'm going to draw is a cube, again, tilting it forward. And I'm going to draw some more lines just to show that the pelvis is a little more prominent towards the bottom and show where your legs start to come out. Now I'm going to move on to showing you movement and line of action. The line of action is an imaginary line that shows the direction of a figure's pose, and there are three. I'm going to start with the eye line or a static line, using a sphere to represent my rib cage. Then I'm going to draw that line of action. Not only does it represent that movement or that direction, for me it also represents the spine. Next, I'm just going to draw a longer line to represent the spine and connect it to the bottom of the pelvis. The next line of action I'm going to show you is called a C curve or a C line. It's just showing you somebody who's bent over extremely, and this creates something called a dynamic pose. I started by sketching the C curve first, finding that line of action. Then I drew the rib cage over it, and I'm showing you that the rib is pointed, or the rib cage is pointed upward, which means the hips are going to point downward. They're going to always point in the opposite direction. Now I'm just going to draw a little portion of the legs and shoulders just to show you the angle that they would be facing. The next line of action is called an S curve. So I'm going to start by sketching the S curve first. It's not a sharp S, it's just more of a light S. I sketched the direction of both the rib cage and the hips, and I'm drawing the rib cage over that S curve. This is a pose of someone who would be standing with their hand on their hip. Now I'm going to move on to showing you how to draw different body types. I'm going to start with 5 basic types. The first one I'm going to draw is a pear shape. I'm drawing the rib cage smaller, and then I'll draw the pelvis a little wider just to help me capture that pear shape. The next body type I'm going to draw is a rectangular shape. That means the person really just doesn't have any prominent curves near their waist or hips. So their shoulders are going to be around the same width as their hips are. The next body type I'm drawing is a triangular shape. This usually means the person's shoulders are wider in width than their hips are. This is usually seen in males or people who lift weights more on their upper body side. The fourth body type I'm drawing is the hourglass shape. This just means their waist pinches in a little more than average and they form the shape of an hourglass. The last body type I'm going to draw is the apple shape. The apple shape comes more from their muscle and fat in their stomach region or side region. It doesn't have anything to do with their rib cage or pelvis shape. For the next portion of this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a fashion figure that is 9 heads tall. I'm going to draw a line that is 9 inches, and I'm going to mark off every full inch. I'm going backwards from 9 all the way to 0. Just note that the average person is actually 7.5 to 8 heads tall. Fashion figures are drawn as 9 to 10 heads because models are usually 6 feet and up. Once you finish sketching a 9-inch line, you're going to label each line from 0 to 9. Between 0 and 1 is where your head is. 2 is where the chest is. 3 is where your waist is. 4 is your hips. 5 is your mid-thigh. 6 is your knees. 7 is your ankles. And between 8 and 9 is where your feet are. This usually represents a model wearing heels. I'm going to start by drawing the head, sketching a circle, and then I'm going to draw the chin connected to that circle. Then I'm going to move on to sketching the shoulders. The shoulders are always between 1 and 2, about at the 1.5 inch line. Then I'm going to sketch a circle to represent the rib cage, or a sphere just to represent that rib cage. And I'm going to sketch the opening just to show that's the real anatomy of it. I'm moving to sketch the pit of the neck and the shape of the neck using a cylinder. I'm sketching where the shoulder bones would connect, and now the muscle or the skin above the shoulder. And then I'm going to move on to drawing the pelvis. So I made that spine line longer. I'm using a bowl shape for the pelvis. And I'm going to make the pelvis at the bottom a little more prominent to show where those hip bones will come out. So the pelvis is all between lines 3 and 4. Now I'm going to move to drawing the femur bones. The femurs start between 3.5 inches, then they move down all the way to the 6-inch line. This whole thing represents the femur. Now I'm moving on to the calf bones on both sides, and now you see me drawing the ankle and the feet representation. Your arms follow similar guidelines. I'm just going to make the shoulders a little bit wider, but your arm is going to go between 1.5 to 3. Your elbows are at that 3-inch line because your elbows match your belly button. Then the rest of your arm goes between 4.5. That's where your wrist ends at 4.5. And then you'll draw your hands right above 5. For the hands, I'm drawing a basic claw shape to show the side of a hand anatomy. And then I'm going to move on to drawing the actual form of the body using cylinders for the arms and legs. As I draw the cylinders for the arms and legs, you're going to see me break it down into different portions. This is just to show you the direction that the arms are moving and how the arm kind of thins down from the elbow to the wrist. This same method is going to be used later on when I draw the legs. The bone is going to be thicker, or your skin is going to be thicker near the top of your thigh, and then it's going to get thinner as it gets down towards your knee. Now you see me drawing the skin for the waist and connecting it to the hip. And now I'm drawing the thigh area. After I sketch the cylinders for the thigh and calf, I'm just going to outline the outer skin area, and then I'll do the same exact steps on the right side of this drawing. For the last section of this video, I'm going to show you how to put all those steps together and draw a fashion figure doing a dynamic pose.